Hello, check, check. I think I'm live. Let's see. How are you guys? If you're here, let me know if the sound is all right. And I don't know how long I can stay on simply because I kind of have a tickle in my throat. But you know me, I just love to come on if I can, even if I have a tickle in my throat. And get my little candle turned on there. Oh man, almost done with the cancer treatment for Coco. So close. So very, very close. So I'll just clean my glasses and chill for a minute, see if people come on in. And it looks like the chakra tower is in line. I love that thing. I know it's goofy, but hey, it's fun. You know, I call it my land of make-believe, like from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, where the little train goes choo-choo to the castle with the queen and the king. And oh, I just loved that when I was a kid. That was my favorite. So I got nobody here. Let's give it another couple of minutes. And if no one comes in, I'll just go ahead and get started with just my notes. I have a ton of notes, so that actually might be better anyway, but it's always fun when people want to participate in the conversation. So I appreciate my viewers on the replay crew. I especially appreciate my viewers that can catch me live and want to chime in. It just adds a nice texture to the conversation rather than the conversation just me being like schizophrenic talking to myself, right? So it said that somebody was here, but maybe that was accidental because now they're gone. All right, I've been abandoned, I say. Oh, that's all right. I don't think I have abandonment issues. Most humans do. Let me start with that because I watched the coolest 8-minute video today that I will put a link to in the description. And do I have the title of it right here? Maybe I could type it in to the chat since there's no one to converse with but myself. I think the name of it was I Survived a Plane Crash When I Was a Baby. It's about an 8-minute video. It is a true story. It was phenomenally educational and inspiring. So it's Chris Norland, this guy that I keep telling you guys about, the one who went to the University of Pennsylvania with Elon Musk, and he lives in South Korea. He also went to Brown University, if you're familiar with Brown. That's a very prestigious school in Rhode Island. And his story being that he survived a plane crash when he was a baby is absolutely, just like I said, inspiring. Absolutely inspiring. It just really makes you think about how much magic there is in living and how lucky we all are to be alive. I know sometimes it seems so challenging and it seems like it's just a cluster, but there is some, I have faith that there's a design of a higher power, and I just really enjoy when I find things that reaffirm that for me. So that was what that video did for me. And man, anybody who survives a plane crash, and we've had so many plane crashes lately. So the plane crash in Arizona yesterday that one person passed away on, it was, I think, a Cessna jet and a commercial plane maybe that clipped each other, I think. But the plane was a Motley Crew band member's plane, I think. And I believe that his girlfriend was on the plane and she survived, that she was one of the 2 passengers on the plane. I don't know if the one who passed away was on that plane that just had 2 passengers and 2 crew people. Sherry, hello. Sounds okay. Bad feet on my side, down at my sister. Glad Coco is doing well. Oh, thank you, dear. I am so glad. And I'm so glad that I'm almost at the end of the treatment with her. It's been very, very challenging. And she's just doing so well. I just try to be grateful. But then, I have teenagers. So if it's not one thing, it's another. It kind of seems like my older teenager, because I only have 2 teenagers right now. The other 2 are no longer teenagers. It seems like the older one, when there's something going on with the dog with the cancer, that he tries to make it harder on me. And maybe it's like he's having his own emotional problems around it, but it's like, I feel like, okay, I've got this. I'm on top of it. I keep making it to her appointments on time and everything and safely. And then in comes teenager. Gotta love them, right? How are you doing, Sherry? How's your life today? I'd say that I'm doing pretty well considering teenager and the pooch. So, and that I've got my YouTube channel and I've got my viewer, although maybe you had to slip out because it says that you're not here. That's all right. Thanks for saying hi. I'll go ahead and highlight that, and I will just get started with my notes. Oh, I did highlight it. Okay. So please hit that like button. There's the creepy thumb. I love my Incredible Hulk looking thumb. And turn on your notification bell to ring if you want to be notified when I come on live. Share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like my channel, and make sure you're still subscribed if you're subscribed. And if you're not, please consider doing so. It does a lot to help the algorithm, and it's all about the algorithm, right? So the cases that I've been covering lately, I've kind of morphed from true crime to true crime and jewelry, true crime, jewelry, home decor, yoga, politics. I just like to say it's like a lifestyle kind of channel, maybe. But the backbone is still true crime. It's still Kylie Rodney, especially. I've got a lot in my brain about Kylie Rodney. I spent hours today while Coco was getting her radiation therapy, hours looking up the lawsuits of her granddad, you guys. We got to go back to the basics. So he had been in the water rights business essentially his entire adult life. I think he's about 77 right now. He's about the same age as Scammy's father, James Smith. And let's see, we've got Daniel Rodney is Kylie's biological father, and then David Robertson is her paternal grandfather. So they've been in business together, I think, consistently since Lindsay and Daniel were married. But those two filed the lawsuit together against Ryan Upchurch. We all are familiar with that. Let me say my disclaimer that everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All of my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. I'm here to learn and grow with my community, try to grow a community, really. And, I think it's very helpful for all of us. I can only speak for myself, though. It's very helpful for me to connect with like-minded people. Although, at the same time, let me just say, I kind of don't feel like I need anybody's approval, and anybody that disagrees with me, I'm absolutely fine with that. And feel free to speak out about your disagreement. Just be respectful, because if you're not, then I ain't got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? It says I'm here, but you are saying I'm not. Oh, okay. So it says 2 people, because over in the corner it says how many people and how many likes. So it was like going from 1 to 0 to 1. So now it says that there's 2, and it's both you and C3PO. Wow, that's with all of these plane crashes. I know, Sherry, what is with all of these plane crashes? Oh, how weird. It looks like your comment that says that you're here, but that it said that you're not. It looks like that was super delayed in showing up, honey. That was delayed like 2 or 3 minutes. So we're going to have glitches in our systems. That's just part of life, which is one of the reasons why we got to be so careful with AI. We cannot rely on it. We cannot let AI drive our car for us because it will crash. For anybody who doesn't know, hey, C3PO, there was a Tesla truck, or I think as some people have been calling them lately, swastika trucks or Nazi trucks, that crashed recently, like the day before yesterday. And the guy who was in it, being driven by the artificial intelligence, was just so happy that he was alive. He was just posting all kinds of compliments towards Elon and Tesla. And I'll put a link in the description to a Chris Norland video where he really breaks it all down quite intelligently. But anyway, the place where the car crashed was a really weird configuration in the street where a lane merged, it disappeared, like the right lane merged into not being there. And then there was kind of like a lamp post almost in the lane. And I thought, that's weird. Like, what country is that? Is that our country? But then just last night, driving around in Springfield, Ohio, I came across an intersection with the exact same thing. And it was so perplexing to me because I'm not familiar with that intersection. And it was dark, and it's always harder to identify what you're looking at when it's dark and you're not familiar with it. And I was just kind of baffled. I was like, well, which side of it am I supposed to go on to stay in, out of the oncoming traffic? And luckily everything was fine, but it was wild. And I told my daughter about it, the one that was in the passenger seat. I was like, man, that's why you can't trust artificial intelligence, because it's hard enough to try to contextualize that and make sense of something that unusual and unexpected with non-artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence just isn't going to hack it. I mean, we've all read a ton of things online recently, right? Like AI generated, where it's just talking nonsense. It's not speaking clearly. It's kind of speaking in circles. It's a good tool. I think artificial intelligence is a good tool, but we can't bet our lives on it, right? I mean, you can't trust anything or anyone right now except yourself. I think it's important to go back to the basics. So much chaos, C3PO says. Doing well, thank you. Got a ticket dismissed yesterday, so I'm good. Well, that's cool. How nice. And yeah, let's see. My daughter had her last basketball game recently, so we're done with the basketball season. We're getting ready to start into the track season. But I was thinking yesterday how, nice to have like the basketball season overlapping with the radiation treatments. It's just been really hectic. So that's why I've been so sporadic with my my lives, but I've been able to keep up with my yoga. Even last night I did my yoga. I just didn't tape it. And I'm so happy to have you guys here. So let's get started on talking about these things. We're already 13 minutes in. I apologize for that. So water wars. I Googled, I was going to tell you guys what I Googled. I did a search on the Google engine for Daniel J. Robinson, actually David Robertson, sorry. And Prosser Reservoir, all in the search engine bar at the same time. So David Robertson and Prosser Reservoir. And a lot of paperwork came up, hundreds and hundreds of pages that, of course, I could never read and share all of it with you, not quickly anyway. But just to give you an overview, I think the first article that came up was the history of Tahoe National Forest. And it was about 200 pages. It was the history of the Tahoe National Forest from 1840 to 1940, so 100 years. And I thought, how interesting is that when you type his name in, that's what comes up first thing, Tahoe National Forest history. And then an article about the science of dirt. And I thought, well, that's interesting, especially when you think about the, dang it, I'm forgetting his name right now. You know, C3PO, the kid that disappeared from the rest area. I want to say Del Toro. Is that his last name? Not Benicio Del Toro. Dante, right? Dante. Thank you. Yes, C3PO, you got it. Dante. And is his last name Del Toro? So he was allegedly getting a dirt sample and not too far from Truckee. And you know how they always talk about, getting the dirt on things. And it made me think about the dirt in that area, like toxicity levels, probably not such a problem because of all the rain and snow and being out there in the Sierra Nevadas. It's probably pretty clean. However, there's probably a lot of valuable elements like gold. The gold rush was right near there. I think Auburn was a major part of where the gold rush was. Auburn is just west of Truckee. Also lithium these days, right? What else? Coal, even though that's not something that we cherish like diamonds and gold. That's something that we all need. We need it for heat, right? So then I was thinking about the mines, like gold mines, coal mines, lithium mines, and how that might tie in with all of the history of the Tahoe National Forest and the water rights. So Daniel Rodney and David Robertson being in business together, and especially David Robertson having owned water rights entities in the Tahoe area since he was in his 20s, he probably inherited that, right? Which reminds me of another case that I've been researching, trying to figure some things out that I figured out. The Delphi case. Ron Logan, is that the guy's name whose property the girls were discovered on? I was wondering how big his farm was, what he farmed, and how long his family history went back. So he wasn't really a farmer. He bought and sold horses. So that's pretty high end, in my opinion. He had that farm for 60 years almost. And I think he passed away 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, when he was 72. So that would mean that he might have moved onto that property when he was a teenager, meaning that he probably inherited it from his family. So I'm wondering about his family roots. I'm wondering how the family acquired that farm and how deeply entrenched in that community they are. Because when you've got these deeply entrenched families like Kylie's family, her granddad, and like Scammy Smith's family, when you've got the social status and the financial stakes, that plays into the whole dynamic of the community and the secrecy, especially when there's crimes committed. And it seems like there almost always are, right? Unsure of the last name. Dante, I think it's Del Toro. Stillwater, Oklahoma has some weird lanes, and Seminole, Oklahoma actually has some circle lanes. Yeah, those circle lanes are cool if you understand them. I almost crashed in one the first time I was in one in Columbus, where it's pretty busy and it's like a double lane and people are going pretty fast in the middle one. And luckily I didn't crash. But yeah, they're very effective and positive and safe if you know how to use them. So you got to be careful with anything when you're new to it, especially, right? So the Tahoe Park Utility Company, the building permits, Placer County, the mines, all of these things, I think, play a role in what went down with Kylie Rodney, and especially what continues to go down with the secrecy of what went down with Kylie Rodney. For anybody who's not familiar with Squirrels on Fire and her second channel called So Fire right now, she's doing some insanely deep diving on the facts of Kylie Rodney's case and what has been committed to the paperwork. So what is the mainstream narrative? And I think she's plugging it all into Grok to see what kind of story Grok comes up with. And it'll be fascinating, I'm sure. But she's just hitting a lot of interesting bumps and a lot of interesting factoids that are different from back when it went down 2.5 years ago. Very different. So that is suspicious right there. I'll put a link to, she did another live last night that I was able to catch most of while she's doing all this research. I'll put a link to that in the description later on. So, what else? The Lake Forest Water Company is the company that David Robertson owned. He sold it to a guy who owned a company called Tahoe Park Water Company, I think. And that was in like 1996. There's just an abundance of information about what are called water wars and soil health. And then this all gets into the lawsuits that David Robertson has been in with the government, with, you're getting into all types of state, county, city, and native laws when you're dealing with the land and the water. And it's also valuable. And so Scammy's mother and father, James, and what is her mother's name? I'm forgetting at the moment if anybody remembers. James Smith, and I think it's like a guy's name, isn't it? Like Tony or something like that. Anyway, so Scammy's parents, they own that Sierra Tahoe investigative private eye firm, security firm, and they handle a lot of government contracts. They handle pretty much all of the community money, like if you're dealing with scholarships or community art funds, things like that in Truckee. It all goes through Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Scammy's mommy and daddy. If anybody knows Scammy's mom's name, please share. Is it Bobby? Bobby Smith, I think. Yeah, Ron Logan was his name in Delphi. Thank you, Sherry. Nice to get the affirmative, just in case I'm spacing out, because, I'm flying between all these cases and so many names. It's easy to screw it up, and I try not to do that. Try to go a little slow. So Scammy's mom and dad, representing the United States government, because her mother's a lawyer and her father is a private eye. So they own that firm and they represent the government there was a 25-year litigation lawsuit with Daniel Rodney and the government. So then, I had discovered that pretty early in the Kylie Rodney case. And I was just like, wow, I had no idea the implications. I knew it was big. I knew it was significant, but I didn't realize how significant that is. And it's so significant. And then I got to wondering with one of my mods yesterday, if David Robertson, if he had anything to do with Prosser Creek Reservoir. Like, did he help develop that? Did he have rights to that? Was that actually his? I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that, but that was what I was looking for when I was finding all this other stuff today. And so also just to finish that thought, that the 25-year litigation, that's going to keep Scammy's parents rolling in the dough, representing the federal government. And then it was a few months ago that I thought, well, maybe it wasn't as litigious as it sounds. Maybe it was intentionally drawn out so that the money would keep rolling in. It's just an idea. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. You just never know. You think you know, but you never know. And then Shan found that thing about the $33.8 billion worth of contracts from the government that Scammy's parents have the oversight with for the decade of 2020 to 2030. Now that's crazy numbers. That's like Musk kind of numbers. That's like Zuck kind of numbers. And then all that crap with Zuck being boots on the ground and searching for Kylie and then scrubbing that from the internet. And now all this crap with Elon trying to, I don't even think he's trying. I think he is like the president of the United States. It's just in title that goes to Donnie, but in reality, that's what that Doge stands for, the DOGE. That's the highest ranking government official. Remember, if you were here in the live the day before yesterday, I read the definition of that. Doge is not a new thing with a cute doggy. I mean, it's that too. And if you try to Google what it really means, you have to dig and dig and dig. Like, it just keeps coming up with all of that. It doesn't want you to know. It seems like the artificial intelligence does not want to reveal to you that that is a old Roman term for the absolute highest commander in a government. So absolute highest commander in a government. And this Doge was invented for Elon to be the head of it. So what does that tell you? That tells me that he's our freaking Doge. Grr. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. He's such a scumbag. And then, I mean, the whole thing with apartheid in South Africa and the racism and the Nazi salute. I mean, I think that they're their own worst enemies, him and Donnie. And I think that they'll do what fools do, and they'll end up hanging themselves with all of their manic excitement with the power tripping and the pissing contest and all of that. They'll just end up pissing all over themselves and each other and everyone else, unfortunately. But hopefully they'll shut themselves down before much longer, right? Donnie, I know, Jackie Bushable. That's kind of my chosen name for him, because I was saying like the angry orange man, baby, zombie president, brain-eating zombie president, and that was a little long. So I'm like, or Donnie. Donnie works too. Agree with you. SoFire is awesome for sure. She's tearing this crap up, and I love how much of a pit bull she is and how nerdy she is with all this information. Like, she's killing it. Absolutely killing it. And if not for her, I would have no idea about that $34 billion that Scammy's parents are in charge of. I knew that they were in charge of millions of dollars. I knew that they were in charge of all the scholarship money in the community and all of the Arts Council. And, you know, like they have those artist lofts that MC Ultra pointed out. I really think something might have happened at those artist lofts, and that's why those were talked about, and that's why that person pointed them out. But I think it's pretty abundantly clear that the little princess did something to her rival, and some other people were involved, and everybody's covering up for her, including law enforcement, because essentially her parents own local law enforcement too. When you've got that kind of power, you can make or break anybody. And again, to quote MC Ultra, it's not just your own self that you have to worry about. It's like the next 20 years of your family's generational small town politics, right? And safety, personal safety. It's a major, major issue. It's not just status in the community. It's absolutely safety. Yeah, Jackie Busher Bull says it's perfect. Oh, about the Donnie. Yeah. Oh my God. And his hair. I mean, it's hard to criticize people for their looks. And, you know, normally I try not to do that, especially hair. It's so easy to have bad hair, especially on the tube. But man, his hair is the worst. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. I mean, it's like clown hair. Hey, Jazz, Raised from Perdition 2 times says, and chat, not able to chat much these days, but I'm watching, listening, lurking. Lovely. Have some info on Doge. Couldn't leave in comment on last video and it was down. And my emails don't often get to. So I haven't had time to get to my emails. I apologize for that. And yeah, the last live that I did is now public for everybody. For like the first day I made it members only. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to do things for members only and not trying to frustrate people, but that's one of the things that I think is good to do is sometimes keep a video members only for like the first 24 or 48 hours. And then that way it rewards the people that are members and hopefully it's not punishing the people that aren't members because I don't want to be doing that. So I don't do it that often, but I did it with that last live. So it's public now. It's for everybody to see easily now. So if you want to leave a comment there, I can see it. But yeah, I'm curious if you want to say it here. How do we become members? There should be like a little join button, I think. I have 3 tiers. I think they're like $1.99, $2.99, and $4.99 a month. And it is pretty new. I've only had it for a couple of months. I just have a handful of members right now. I'm trying to figure out how to make it roll, you know. That's sort of where I'm at with this evolution of this science project, as I call it. Okay, so yeah, anything you want to share about Doge? I'm fascinated. Doge were governors of Venice. They would lie, cheat, and steal to get position. Oh my goodness, Raised from Perdition. Look at you. No join button on my iPhone. Well, and it might just be with the phone. Sometimes they don't have everything. So I don't know if you have a laptop to look at or a regular computer, a desk computer sometime, Jackie. I don't know, but that's good to know that you don't have it on your iPhone. And sometimes if you leave the chat, if you hit the little X on the chat, it'll take you to that place where you can hit the like button and the join button, I think. So Doge were governors of Venice. They would lie, cheat, and steal to get position. And once they were in and up to all shenanigans, they had favorites. But even worse, they had to answer to the black merchants ruling muscle. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty dark stuff. And, you know, these mega wealthy elites that want to basically, pardon my language, but shit all over the people and just steal everything, all of the resources, and leave nothing for the people. And they don't care if the people suffer or pass away or anything. It's all about them. Like what kind of life is that? But I guess it's like any other addiction, getting addicted to power and money, and there's never enough. 1 is too many, 1,000 is never enough, and you're just a bottomless freaking black pit, and it's really sad. It's really sad. I mean, I have a lot of compassion for anyone dealing with any kind of addiction, but it's hard to have compassion for a freak like Musk who is just so hurtful to the entire freaking planet. Like, I really don't think he cares if he blows up the world. You know, he's like an evil cartoon character. Him and Donnie, they keep reminding me of the Underminer from the end of the Incredibles movie. Just absolute cartoonish. I mean, what about like Rudy Giuliani? Like, he was a cartoonish ghoul too. And then there was that one day where he had the black hair dye like dripping down the side of his face. Like, you just can't make this stuff up. You know, just like the woman Susie, the chief of staff, who had the freak out eyes, the dagger eyes towards Donnie when he was talking about Gaza, owning Gaza, and he won't stop talking about that. A lot of that stuff he's doing to definitely distract all of us so that we're not paying attention to what his buddy Elon's doing. But he's also he's so out of control. Donnie is so out of control, and he's so much showing signs of dementia. So some of the signs of dementia are having a real limited vocabulary and using the same word, say 3 times in a sentence, maybe using the same phrase in like 6 sentences in a row. He does that a lot. And that happens to be one of my peeves with my own talking, with anybody's talking. I can't stand that. That's why I try to have a thesaurus in my brain or in my pocket at all times. But especially as dementia develops, that happens more and more. And you'll see that every freaking day with Donnie. The most recent one that I saw just in the last day or so was him talking about building a beautiful ballroom in the White House. And he used the phrase beautiful ballroom in the White House like 6 times in a row. And then I think he used the word beautiful 3 or 4 times in one sentence. It was crazy. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with a beautiful ballroom in the White House. I'm surprised they don't have one. But, you know, what about the whole thing with the healthcare plan for the masses, right? When you were wanting to shred Obamacare and you're still just dealing with concepts of a health plan. Like, how about getting that hammered out before you're dealing with the freaking ballroom? But this is where they're at. They don't care about the healthcare for the masses. They want to take all that money and use it for their ballroom so that they can have their big freaking parties. They're like those Greek and Roman people that will just eat and eat and eat and then throw up so that they can eat and eat and eat more. Like, absolutely gross. But this is real. And then there's, you know, babies starving right outside. They don't care. So let's see. What does it say here? Oh, check your iPad. Yeah, Jackie Bushable. Still active today. The black merchants are cherished by the elite, like the Knights of Malta, lots of Illuminati. So is this like similar to the Nazi political party in Germany that Elon's pushing for in their German election? That's coming up the 23rd of February. And there's another date coming up in just about a week. Let's see, today's the 11th. I think it's a week from today. The 500th day of those people that have been held hostage from the musical festival. The Hamas, Israeli, hundreds of people. I think it was 1,200 people that were slaughtered at that musical festival. You guys remember that, right? Those are the hostages. I'm about 100% sure that Donnie is saying they better release them by Saturday at noon or else. And it's like, I hope that goes well. I hope that that's peaceful. I hope that they get released by Saturday at noon. But I don't believe that threatening those types is a good way to negotiate. who am I? I know nothing about that type of negotiation. Actually, no, I'll take that back. I think I do know a lot about negotiation, because when you have kids, it's all about negotiation, and any relationship is all about negotiation. So you have to know how to negotiate in this world. So I get the feeling this Doge system will set up framework for new world order, where we have one government worldwide. I think that's exactly where it's headed, raised from perdition. I think you're frighteningly on target. And that's like with the Handmaid's Tale kind of framework. That's with, taking over Canada, making them the 51st state, and then trying to marry with Putin, trying to marry with Kim Jong-un. I mean, just sickening stuff. And yeah, that whole thing, let's go back to the Super Bowl Sunday and how Donnie was signing the proclamation while flying over the Gulf of Mexico that he's taking the name and he's making Google and everything change it. And he literally said it's a much bigger day than just the Super Bowl. It's the Gulf of America Day. Like, can you just let the football players have their day? Like, I knew he would do everything in his power to try to steal their thunder. But really? Could you be a little more subtle, please? Just a little more subtle. You don't need to prove me right. I really don't need to be right about these things. But then when they were down 24-0 at halftime, and I watched the first half of the game, I watched the halftime performances, and then I went and did other stuff. So I didn't see the second half. And, I found out later that he left during halftime. And, I thought that the halftime show was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Samuel Jackson and the revolution will be televised. I just can't help but think that he took that as a personal slam. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy. Isn't that what Lamar said? And I didn't know Kendrick Lamar won a Pulitzer Prize. Did you guys know that? He got a freaking Pulitzer Prize for his rap music. Like, he's probably the only person in the world that's gotten a Pulitzer Prize for his rap music. But is that why Donnie was talking about how he should be domed with a Nobel Peace Prize? Like, he's so disgusting, and he just needs to quit talking about ethnic cleansing. He needs to quit talking about world domination. Just take care of the people. But he's never going to. Like, my biggest fear is that they stole the election. I still don't believe that more people in our country voted for him than the other party. And I think that they've already destroyed all the evidence that they stole the election. That's what I think is going on here with all of this gutting of the data banks. And then, what are they trying to do with our Social Security information, aside from steal our tax return money right now? Like, timing is everything. And all that, those tax return coffers are full to the rim. And they're probably not going to be sending people their tax return checks. I hate to say that. I hope I'm wrong. But is the government trying to identity theft us all, basically? I think that that's what's going on. They're just scoundrels trying to identify theft every single one of us. And then they can mess with like our credit scores. They can give us worse interest rates on our home loans and car loans and business loans. Absolute scumbags. Absolute scumbags. Yes, it's as if they take the horrific, spin it as a joke, so everyone is lax about it, and then make it happen. True evil, 100% raised from perdition 2 times. And at the same time, I want to walk it back just a tad, because it quickly gets so overwhelming and depressing feeling. But like I said, I think these MFs are getting ahead of themselves. I think they're going to trip themselves up. I don't think it's sustainable. So I do think that there's hope. I think that the people that are in positions of power to do something about it, which is all of us, we have to remember that we're in a democracy. That's why I keep saying, if all you can do is pay attention, then just pay attention. I think the worst thing that we can do is not pay attention. We need to pay attention, no matter how overwhelming it seems. We need to know what's going on with our country and our money and our politics. So, what about the brothel bunny legal ranch, the legal brothel bunny ranch by Tahoe? That's in Incline. Is it called the Village of Incline or Incline Village or something like that? But it's the bunny ranch. It's a brothel and it's legal and it's right there. And it makes me remember that Scammy was talking about going down to Incline to interview some kids, right? Like, why? Why Incline? Is there something going on in Incline? Like, why the whole thing with Reno? Like, Reno kept coming up. And again, Reno is across the border, and in the state of Nevada, brothels are legal. So there's been a lot of speculation about Reno, about the casino there, the big casino in Reno. And then Incline Village is probably a little bit closer than Reno even, because Reno is like half an hour from Truckee, I think. And then Incline Village is probably just like 15 or 20 minutes. It's right there on Lake Tahoe, like the northeast side of Lake Tahoe, mostly north, I think, but I'm pretty sure it's Nevada, and that's where that bunny brothel bunny ranch is. Okay. So, back to Donnie and his crazy. Okay, there's a lot of it, right? But we all remember back when the Access Hollywood hot mic got released during the last time that he was elected president. And, he talked about grabbing the women by the kitty cat, right? And he said, when you're a star, you can do that. You just grab them by the kitty cat. And then when he was interviewed about it, and I think that one of the interviews might have been like, are you embarrassed that you said that, or do you regret saying that? And he was like, no, not at all. And then he said this. He said, stars have been doing that for millions of years. It's the way it's been for millions of years. And it's so stunningly stupid. And I think so many of us just let it slide because it's so stunningly stupid. It's like, what are you talking about, millions of years? There hasn't been Hollywood for millions of years. There hasn't even been people for millions of years. Like, stars have been doing it for millions of years. Are you talking about the stars in the galaxy grabbing the other stars in the galaxy by the kitty cats? I don't know. Anyway, that's the kind of crazy talk that we just gloss over it because there's no way to contextualize it. It doesn't make any sense. So we just kind of let it go in one ear and out the other. And I think we need to stop doing that. I think we need to stop and go, wait a second, Donnie. What do you mean it's been going on for millions of years? Like, what the F are you talking about? This man is in charge of a world superpower. And like Raised from Perdition said, that's exactly. Okay, what's this about Seeker of Truth? I always got the feeling Scammy was selling Kylie into trafficking. And Seeker of Truth just put out a video with the Bunny Ranch implications. Maybe 17 was the Truckee rite of passage to work there. OMG, Raised from Perdition, willing or not. I keep running out of space. So Seeker of Truth has done some phenomenal videos about Reno. And did she just do one about inline? Is that what you're saying? Because it's really wild how we can like run on these parallel tracks. It's really wild. Like with, I wanted to talk about the Watts case too, if you don't mind jumping over to the Watts case for a second. And yeah, I think I did see that Seeker of Truth video. I think I did notice that, but I've been so caught up with the politics stuff that I just haven't felt like I have enough time to, I kind of feel like I've covered so much of the Kylie Rodney case, but yeah, it's always good to get back to basics. Always so good. So yeah, I like to try to keep up with the ones that I know that I like, but then I find more ones that I like this Chris Norland that I started with. But let me talk about Kelly with What's the Obsession for a second, because she is constantly hammering away at the Watts case, which I love because I think it needs to be hammered away at. I think that NK, much like Scammy, has gotten away with red rum, and she needs to not be doing that, and that the authorities need to not be enabling that, and they are in both cases. But my point was that Kelly with What's the Obsession has been doing some specific focusing on that case, that without even knowing that she was doing that specific focusing, I was focusing on the exact same thing, like over the weekend, like just randomly in my brain without staying caught up with her stuff. And we were saying different things, but we were right on the same track. And I mean, not different things that would be like counterintuitive to each other, but just different things running parallel to each other. So basically going back to that date that I've spoken about in my last couple of lives in regards to the Watts case, going back to the July 4th, the day that NK surprise visited Chris Watts at his house and infamously, the way her and Chris tell the story separately, that, Dieter basically dragged her upstairs, or the way Kelly says it, Dieter strong-armed her and made her go up the stairs and forced her to look at all the pictures. But yeah, she had a major meltdown. And the way Chris talks about that visit, he says he had to talk her off a ledge. The way she talks about that visit, she's like, I was just going over there to help him with his macros. And she doesn't say she surprise visited him. She almost tries to imply that it was an invited visit, and it wasn't. She totally imposed herself on him and his house and his security system. And I think that that's when things really spun out of control. So anyway, Kelly's next live, hopefully I can get on her panel if she wants me, and we can talk about this together, because I kind of feel like we're hitting something that I don't feel like I've hit that before. Maybe Kelly has, and I'm not aware of it. But yeah, I wanted to be sure to touch base about that in this video today. We're already getting close to an hour. And I love your last comment, Raised from Perdition, as much as I dislike the idea. I really dislike the idea of Kylie being violated by anybody at any point in time. But I have to say that, in all honesty, in trying to figure out what happened to her 2.5 years ago, I do believe that she had been getting violated routinely. And that could have been like the Titanic cult kind of stuff. It could have been like the Bohemian Grove kind of stuff. Just the name of her song, Far Away. And again, it was Shan who found the names of all the little subdivisions of the Bohemian Grove. And one of them is named Far Away, which is interesting in relationship to the title of her song, because in that song, she's not singing about something that's far away. She never says those words, far away, and she's not describing something that's far away. So why is it called that? unless if that's maybe the Bohemian Grove subdivision that happened to be part of that Alpine Club that happened to do their what do you call them, retreats twice a year, every January, every July, the last weekend of January, the last weekend of July, making the last weekend prior to the weekend that she went missing one of those weekends. Always getting back to what Mark Molina and Kenny over there in Scotland believe, that it started at the lodge, perhaps. When, Seeker of Truth is often in her last few videos talking about how pensive little tiny kid Kylie's face looks when she's doing these musical performances at the lodge, and as if she's so miserable, but she can't, just like her song says, but she can't say a word, but I cannot make a sound. I'm just getting chills. Because, yeah, I think that what you said there is probably a good guess, that 17 was the truckee rite of passage to work there, willing or not. That's so gross. So gross. And then, yeah, I mean, just the whole thing with like the internet, Craigslist, Backpage, dark web, OnlyFans, all of that about the Bunny Ranch. Yeah, it's a very quick flash of Bunny Ranch, but puts the thought in your psyche. Well, maybe I had that happen to me, raised from perdition. I don't know. Her videos or their videos are pretty wild, and I do like their work a lot. I don't think that it is undeniably accurate, but I don't know that it's undeniably inaccurate either. I think that it's food for thought, basically. Yes, names of Freemason lodges. Thank you, Raised from Perdition. You know a lot about this stuff, man. You do. So, what else? So Blaze Berenstein, you guys, not to overwhelm you with a new case, but this is an old case that I just familiarized myself with in the last couple of days. Have you heard of this young man from Southern California named Blaze Bernstein? He was red-rummed in 2018. He was 19 years old. He lived in Orange County. He was a student at the University of Pennsylvania, where Chris Norland and Elon Musk both went, Ivy League school. And he was home for Christmas. And he hooked up with somebody that he knew in high school, and he was never seen nor heard from again. So his it was a homicide situation, I think very similar to Kylie. And the case was only the unaliver was only sentenced 2 months ago. So it's all over the news shows right now, I think, like 2020 and 48 Hours and Dateline. So Blaze Bernstein, and I mentioned it last night in the chat in Squirrels on Fire's live, because it seemed like there were a lot of parallels with what happened to him and what happened to Kylie. And some of these parallels are that the cell phones both like shut off. Blaze's phone was found in the mud underneath him. Kylie's phone, I don't think that they've ever been real clear about where her phone was found, have they? I don't think so. But we know the whole thing about it shutting down. Like, was it ever found? Dang. Was it? I mean, like, they never talk about her laptop. They never talk about the electronic data. And I'm sure there's good reason. But another similarity that the two cases have is the Fight Club. So the peer that took Blaze's life they interviewed him quickly afterwards because he was the last person to see Blaze. Did I say Blaine? He was the last person to see Blaze and the last person to be in contact with him that people knew of. And so they interviewed him right away, and he had a lot of cuts on his arms. And he said it was from a Fight Club situation earlier in the night or something. I thought, Fight Club, huh? Good one. Good way to cover for, I don't know, having bruises all over your arms and legs and needing to write on yourself with white paint and chalk. Find Kylie. Yeah, Fight Club. I know Fight Club was also something in the Gabby Petito case. Wasn't there another case where Fight Club came into play? I don't know, but I want to learn more about Blaze Bernstein's case and know that there is a tribute website called #BlazeItForward. And so a lot of that is about gay pride and hate crimes, because Blaze was both gay and Jewish, and his unaliver was charged with hate crimes. And I don't even know, I didn't get enough of the story to know if he was charged with the hate crimes of both or one or the other. I don't think that they really need to know which one it was if they can prove that it was a hate crime. But he was sentenced finally 2 months ago. And that gave me hope that when the crime happened in 2018, so it took like 6, almost 7 years for the unaliver to get sentenced. And what happened with Kylie was 2.5 years ago. So maybe somebody will get sentenced, right? Maybe baby. So back to the thing about the Gaza Strip. There was that Evergreen student, Rachel Corey, who was run over by the bulldozer on the Gaza Strip in 2003. And I'm sorry, I know I'm jumping all over the place. This is how my brain has been lately. It's like too much information, but let's just try. Let's just try. The thing with the Gaza Strip is that that's still happening right now. That's like what was happening with that large gathering with the music festival where all the people got kidnapped and are still being held hostage and hopefully are going to be released soon. I saw a statistic that said 80% of hostages are returned to their lives physically unharmed. I mean, that's not to say psychologically unharmed, of course. And do they mean physically unharmed in that they're not maimed or bleeding? I mean, I would imagine that they've been assaulted, right? It's so disgusting. Anyway, Rachel Corey was the 23-year-old young woman who was crushed to death March 16th of 2003. And just the whole genocide, the whole war with the Palestinians and the Israelis and the crossfire, the crosshairs, and then Donnie trying to insert himself and our country into this, saying that we're going to own it. We're going to just own the Gaza Strip. Like, get real. Like, are you going to go fight for it physically, personally, old man? Like, are you going to send your kids out there and your grandkids out there to fight for it personally? Elon, is he going to show up in one of his cyber trucks? I mean, because those look like dogs of war trucks, don't they? They really do. Anyway, the thing that I wanted to say about the Gaza Strip, where was it? That, he's talking about building it into a resort town and then making thousands of jobs. He's talking about making thousands of jobs in this thing that is completely not rightfully his or our country's or anything. And then simultaneously, he's taking all these jobs away from people in Washington, D.C. Like, he's always trying to act like he's a conservative and that he's going to create jobs and he's going to create a better economy. He's going to lower the cost of inflation. He does just the opposite. So he's taking jobs away from people currently at the same, like he's literally talking out of both sides of his mouth. He's saying he's going to create these great jobs in Gaza. And then he's just deleting jobs in Washington, D.C. I mean, when people have federal jobs, those are jobs that people usually stay in until they retire. And let me be clear, I have nothing against government efficiency and cutting out projects that are not effective or are not financially responsible, fiscally responsible. And I do think that there's a lot that needs to be reviewed and identified. However, I don't think that that's what they're doing. I think that the current administration is simply trying to take the money for themselves, and they have no interest in putting it back into public health, public safety, public governance. They have an idea like what Raised from Perdition ×2 was saying 2 times, the thing about the New World Order and one government worldwide. It's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And yeah, Elon is all about like the Star Wars and the Blade Runner and Terminator and Darth Vader. I mean, that's what he's aiming for. There's no doubt in my mind that that's what Elon is aiming for. And him and Donnie are just a toxic, toxic pair. I don't think it'll last. I think they will take each other and themselves down. But in the meantime, it is wreaking havoc and distracting a lot of people from a lot of other important things. So, yeah, let's see if there's other things we need to discuss before wrapping up, because we are slightly over an hour. So at least I haven't lost my voice or anything. I was worried about that. I've been drinking hot tea with honey and lemon, but now it's cold tea with honey and lemon. Let your light shine. I knew I had a good mug today. Let your light shine. So yeah, I don't know if I am being Pollyanna and wishful thinking, unrealistic in my belief that Donnie and Elon are going to get themselves arrested. I mean, I know it's complicated when somebody is the president, but the way they keep violating laws, and Donnie violating international laws, he can probably get arrested for that by other countries. I know Elon can get arrested for the things that he's doing. I don't know if being the president of the United States makes him untouchable when it comes to other countries' laws. You know, if anybody does know and wants to weigh in. Let's see. So blaze it forward. And I watched Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers last night, and their monologues are hilarious over Donnie and Elon. Thank you, Jackie Bushable. That's always my saving grace, and I haven't watched the comedy yet from the last day or two. And usually that's at the top of my priority list. I really need the comedy, but right now with all that's going on, you know, I'm trying to stay informed about what's going on politically, and of course staying informed what's going on with the dog here, with the not with the Doge, but with the actual dog, right? So yeah, we'll talk more about NK and that maybe in, like I said, if Kelly Watts the Obsession has a live and I go on to her panel, and or my next live, which I don't know when that will be, but this is the last week of the crazy, hopefully. So she does admit, NK does admit that it was an invasion of space. That's interesting. So in that 3-hour and 33-minute interview, she actually says something to that effect. And let's see. When she says in that 3-hour and 33-minute interview, what do you think about not separating from your wife? She says that she said that to Chris Watts after she invaded his space, went upstairs, saw the photographs, had her meltdown. And then she said, what do you think about not separating from your wife? Which is every mistress's worst fear, that their boyfriend is not going to separate from their wife. Like, I like what Kelly with Watts the Obsession says about that quote is, said no mistress ever, right? And then she goes off into this little world of, I think, Freudian slips, where she says right after that, and I'll have to break down that part of the that 3-hour, 33-minute interview that Paula Plunder was the one that finally got that released after 3 years of trying. And she says, I was trying to push him to do it. She's talking about, what do you think about not separating from your wife? I was trying to push him to do it. He was reluctant to do it. He didn't want to. It really seemed like she was making a bunch of Freudian slips, maybe confessing to what went down that night, that the whole family lost their lives. Oh, and then she says, if you guys work on it, I'm out. Really? Like, that's kind of a given. If you guys work on it, I'm out. So she's in the interview with, is it with Baumhover? Or is it with the other guy? Anyway, the guy interviewing her says, she's telling him about how even when the wife and the kids were in North Carolina, Chris was still sleeping in the basement. And he's like, really? Even when they're not there, he's still sleeping in the basement? And she is totally caught in this lie, you guys. She does this. Yep. And then she thinks for a minute, and then she starts backpedaling and saying, well, sometimes he would go upstairs. Anyway, I'll do a better job with breaking that down in the next time. Hopefully we talk about it either on this channel or on Kelly's channel. And I'll also get the timestamp for where in that interview. But for right now, I'll put a link to the live that I'm referring to of Kelly's that was just a couple of days ago, where she's breaking all this down. Because she's like midstream breaking it down. She was going to do another live very soon to pick up the rest of her process with that. So hopefully we can all meet there, right? There are humor shorts going around with Elon as grandma's boy from the movie In the White House. Worth a minute for a laugh. Absolutely. Oh, it's so therapeutic. It's so therapeutic. And you know, these guys have such thin skin. Like, they have such a hard time handling that kind of criticism. So I think it's actually productive, not just for bringing our spirits up, but I think it'll wear them down. Although, you know, they could retaliate and just blow up the world, right? I mean, funny, not funny. Okay, you guys, what else? Let's wrap her up. Thank you so much for being in my conversation. It's just 5 of us here, but everybody's hit the like button, so that's cool. And my handy wrench had to jump off. So sorry to have missed so much today. Great live. Well, thanks for coming in as you can. Lots of love to you guys. And what else? I was going to, let's see, it's Wednesday. Or is it Wednesday? It's Tuesday, right? It's Tuesday the 11th. Yeah, Wednesday's the 12th. Friday is Valentine's Day. Your hearts raised from perdition 2 times. You reminded me of that. And I know Valentine's Day is one of those holidays that can be hard for people sometimes when they're single. Love is all you need. Love will save the day. It's all about love, like self-love. God is love. Love saves lives, right? Anyway, let's say good night, goodbye, sign off, and see you hopefully super soon. You hear the dogs bark. That's Coco. That's the one getting the radiation therapy. She's doing so well. So that is just the coolest thing. And it's also cool that I was able to come onto a live. Sorry for whacking my mic. Probably made a weird sound. Anyway, I feel very blessed. I always try to count my blessings, especially when it comes to the situation with her and when it comes to the situation with you guys. So grateful to have viewers. So thanks for watching. Peace out. Love and light. Take really good care of yourself. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Eating your protein and fruits and veggies, super important. And we will see you soon. Thanks again.